the cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a completely unexpected new obsession.
They really, really did.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today's deep dive is an absolute wild ride. We are unpacking a headline you have definitely seen everywhere. The Suits movie and Meghan Markle, what's really happening.
Right, because to understand what's happening right now, we have to rewind a bit. We are dissecting the chaotic, multi-million-dollar aftermath of a massive streaming boom.
A boom that, honestly, nobody saw coming.
Nobody. So let's set the stage. It is the summer of 2023. An older cable television show that had been off the air for years suddenly racks up 3.7 billion viewing minutes globally.
In a single week.
Yeah, a single week. It wasn't some massive new blockbuster premiere. It was Suits. And the entertainment industry absolutely lost its collective mind trying to figure out what to do next.
They really did.
Yeah.
And for you sitting there listening, whether you are a diehard fan or just fascinated by pop culture brand management, this story is just, it's a masterclass in the collision of nostalgia and the brutal business of Hollywood.
Oh, absolutely.
We're looking at how network executives desperately scramble to bottle lightning a second time, the dramatic rise and fall of a hastily put-together spinoff, and, the aggressive behind-the-scenes push for a big-budget reunion movie.
It's the ultimate wild card, right?
Oh.
What Meghan Markle is actually doing with her Hollywood career in 2026, because that is the real plot twist here.
Oh, just wait till you hear what came next with her.
Yeah.
But to start, the timeline of events here reveals so much about how modern Hollywood operates under pressure.
Yeah, because their initial reaction was just wild.
Right. The initial trigger was the industry's knee-jerk reaction to that staggering 2023 streaming surge. Instead of looking at the underlying reasons why audiences were suddenly connecting with a decade-old legal procedural and trying to organically create something new with that spirit, they just panicked.
They reached right into the vault to monetize the IP.
Exactly. But wait, let's back up for a second before we get into what they did next. Why did that 2023 surge happen in the first place?
That is the million-dollar question. Because looking at it from the outside, it feels like this massive, spontaneous cultural phenomenon. Was it just, a random glitch in the Netflix algorithm? Or was there an actual mechanism driving billions of viewing minutes?
It was basically a perfect storm. And the thing is, you cannot manufacture it in a boardroom. First, you have the Netflix algorithm, which is literally designed to keep viewers on the platform as long as possible.
Right.
And Suits offered an incredible asset for that specific goal. It has 134 episodes. That is hundreds of hours of highly bingeable television.
Which is exactly what the algorithm loves to feed people.
Exactly. And second, you have the tone of the show. It belongs to an era of what the industry calls blue sky television.
Oh, blue sky television. I love that term.
So accurate, right? It's just well-dressed, charismatic people solving problems in glossy offices where the stakes feel high, but the world is never actually ending.
It's comforting.
It's a very specific type of comforting, low cognitive load entertainment. The audience wasn't obsessed with the fictional legal universe of Pearson Hardman. They were craving that specific tone, and the unique chemistry of that original cast provided it.
So the executives see this 3.7 billion minute metric flash across their dashboards, and they completely misinterpret the data.
Oh, entirely.
They think, the audience wants the Suits brand, when really the audience just wanted a comforting 134-hour hangout with those specific characters.
And that fundamental misunderstanding drove the next 2 years of development. The show's creator, Aaron Korsh, admitted during an interview at a subsequent premiere that the resulting spinoff was incredibly reactive.
Yeah, reactive is an understatement. The pilot they produced wasn't even a new legal drama conceived for this moment.
No, it wasn't. Korsh had written a script about 5 years earlier during the pandemic, focusing on entertainment agents. NBC had originally passed on it.
Wait, NBC passed on it?
Yep. But when the Suits resurgence hit Netflix and Peacock, that rejected script was suddenly resurrected.
Hold on, I need to make sure I am grasping this. They took a script about Hollywood agents, essentially did a find and replace on their laptops to make them entertainment lawyers, slapped the Suits title on it, and pushed it into production.
That is basically exactly what happened.
How did network executives think audiences wouldn't see right through a completely retrofitted premise?
Well, it comes down to risk aversion in modern television. Developing a brand new show from scratch is expensive, and statistically, it's likely to fail.
But an established IP comes with built-in marketing.
Exactly. Plus, Korsh noted that it was the middle of the Hollywood strike, and they desperately needed content ready to go the moment the strike ended.
Right, the timing was tight.
So they retooled the script to center on a character named Ted Black, an entertainment attorney originally from New York whose Los Angeles firm is facing a crisis. And they basically engineered a backstory to force a connection to the original series.
Right, the crossover appeal.
Yeah.
They established that Ted Black used to be a prosecutor in New York and played on a Prosecutors League baseball team with Harvey Specter.
It's such a stretch.
It really is. But that allowed them to bring Gabriel Macht back to reprise his role for a story arc when the show, Suits L.A., premiered in February 2025.
And they threw everything at this premiere.
They did. They had Stephen Amell starring as Ted, a massive ensemble cast. But it feels so obvious in hindsight why this was a dangerous strategy.
Oh, completely.
Because trying to build Suits L.A. out of an old script by just sprinkling in a cameo is like, imagine you hosted a legendary spontaneous dinner party 5 years ago.
Okay, I'm tracking.
The conversation was amazing. The chemistry between the guests was perfect. It was pure magic. You can't just recreate that night by renting a totally different restaurant, inviting completely different people, and slapping the same name tags on their lapels. It just doesn't work.
That is the perfect analogy. And the ratings prove that analogy entirely correct.
Yeah, they really did.
Despite the aggressive marketing, the built-in brand recognition, and the returning guest stars, Suits L.A. failed to hold its audience. The brutal reality of the current television landscape set in very quickly.
Which is crazy considering the hype.
In May 2025, NBC canceled the show after exactly 13 episodes. It became part of a wider network house cleaning, axing several other struggling programs.
So the audience just rejected it.
Yeah, they didn't want a repurposed script about Los Angeles entertainment lawyers. They wanted the original magic, which leads directly to the next phase of this corporate scramble.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. And if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead in this deep dive.
We really do. Because Universal Pictures realized that you can't just slap a label on a new cast. If the chemistry of the original actors was the real product, the only logical business move was a massive reunion.
Which perfectly transitions us from a failed television spinoff to the wild rumor mill of a blockbuster movie. Because if you can't get them to watch 13 episodes of new characters, you try to get them to buy a movie ticket for the old character.
That's the Hollywood playbook.
Exactly. So in May 2026, the Mirror US drops this massive report claiming Aaron Korsh is in advanced talks with top brass at Universal Pictures for a big-budget Hollywood movie.
A huge deal.
Massive. The report says the original cast, Patrick J. Adams, Gabriel Macht, Rick Hoffman, Sarah Rafferty, Gina Torres, are all sounded out and generally on board, barring some minor scheduling conflicts.
But there was a catch.
A huge catch. The linchpin of this entire reported deal was Meghan Markle.
Yep. According to those industry leaks, she was offered a multi-million-dollar deal to return as Rachel Zane. And the studio wasn't just offering an acting fee. They were reportedly floating a co-executive producer position.
Which changes the math entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That detail is critical because it would grant her a slice of the global box office revenues, not just a flat day rate. The underlying logic leaked by the studio was that her character drove a massive portion of those 2023 streaming reruns, making her participation a non-negotiable asset for a theatrical release.
Okay, but let's apply some critical thinking to these quote-unquote advanced talks. We have this narrative of a multi-million-dollar offer and everyone getting the band back together.
Right.
But contrast that with what we actually saw play out in public. Let's look at the January 2024 Golden Globes.
Oh, that was so awkward.
It was brutally awkward. The cast reunites on the red carpet to present an award. Patrick, Gabriel, Gina, and Sarah are all there. A reporter straight up asks Gina Torres, who texted Meghan to invite her.
And Gina did not hold back.
Not at all. She is just brutally, awkwardly honest. She says, quote, "We don't have her number, we just don't." Yeah. And later, Patrick J. Adams confirms on a podcast that while she reached out to congratulate him on his own projects, they are on completely different paths and aren't really in touch.
Which is totally fair.
It is. But my question to you is, was this movie deal ever a realistic possibility? Or are we looking at a phantom movie deal generated by studio PR?
You are identifying a very common mechanism in Hollywood deal-making. The leverage leak.
The leverage leak. Explain that.
So, Floating a massive multi-million-dollar offer to the Duchess of Sussex and the press does a few things for a studio. First, it guarantees global press coverage for a project that doesn't even have a green light yet.
Oh, smart. Free marketing.
Exactly. Second, it allows executives to gauge public sentiment and international interest before they commit serious capital. But to answer your question, the logistical and social reality of this happening was always incredibly slim.
Really? Why?
Well, the disconnect between the cast isn't about animosity or bad blood.
Yeah.
It is the sheer logistical reality of someone transitioning from a working cable television actor to global royalty.
That makes sense. The security alone must be a nightmare.
The security protocols, the shifting social circles, the international scrutiny, it fundamentally alters how a person can interact with their former life. A casual reunion movie requires a level of accessibility that simply doesn't exist for her anymore.
So the studio executives are floating these huge numbers to test the waters, hoping maybe the promise of back-end box office points will lure her back to the firm.
Hoping, yes.
But her team didn't just decline, they completely shut the door. On May 11th, 2026, her representative issued a definitive statement to E! News, confirming there was no truth to the movie chatter.
Shutting it down completely.
Exactly. She had already established years prior that she was done with acting. But wait till you hear what came next, because this is the massive plot twist that nobody saw coming.
Nobody.
She rejected the Suits movie, but she wasn't rejecting Hollywood. Meghan Markle actually is returning to acting for the first time since leaving the royal family.
And that's not even the wildest part. The mechanism of how she is returning is the most fascinating part of this entire saga.
Oh, totally. So she was spotted filming in Pasadena for an Amazon MGM Studios romantic comedy called Close Personal Friends.
A rom-com.
Right. It's a film starring Lily Collins and Brie Larson about a famous couple and a non-famous couple who become friends on vacation. Meghan Markle is making a cameo, but she isn't playing a paralegal. She is playing herself.
And that is a masterstroke of brand management.
Is it?
Oh, absolutely. By choosing to play herself in a film centered around the dynamics of fame, she is executing an incredibly strategic meta-maneuver. To understand why this is such a significant move, you have to look at the broader turbulence of her career over the last few years.
Right, because there have been some bumps.
For sure. Following the exit from royal duties, the Sussexes established Archwell Productions and signed massive deals. But the entertainment industry is highly volatile.
Very true.
Their high-profile multi-year deal with Netflix wasn't extended. Her planned cooking show, With Love, Meghan, was canceled after 2 seasons. Documentaries yielded mixed results.
And meanwhile, their expenses are huge.
Immense. Their lifestyle overhead is massive, with reports indicating security and operational costs running around $4 million annually.
Wow. $4 million just to operate.
Right. And while they maintain significant philanthropic output, like massive donations to children's charities and disaster relief, the business side of their enterprise desperately required a pivot.
Which brings us to the launch of her lifestyle brand As Ever.
Yes.
It went through a few iterations before landing on that name, but now she's at Paris Fashion Week. She's doing cover shoots for Harper's Bazaar, framing herself as a female brand founder.
A total shift in identity.
Exactly. And she recently launched a high-end 2021 vintage Napa Valley Brut sparkling wine. I want to look at the business logic here.
Yeah.
Why pivot from being a high-paid actress to selling $86 bottles of sparkling wine?
Well, it is entirely about the economics of direct-to-consumer businesses and controlled intellectual property.
Okay, unpack that for us.
When you are an actor, even a highly paid one, you are ultimately an employee of a studio. You are trading your time for a fee, and you are subject to the creative whims of writers, directors, and executives.
You don't really own anything.
Exactly. But a luxury lifestyle brand flips that dynamic. You own the equity. The profit margins on direct-to-consumer luxury goods, whether that is cosmetics, tequila, or sparkling wine, are astronomical compared to standard entertainment contracts.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
By positioning herself as a luxury founder, she is attempting to build a sustainable, scalable business where she is the CEO, not the talent.
And that completely reframes the cameo on the rom-com. I was thinking about this, and it reminds me of Michael Jordan in Space Jam.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right, because when you reach a certain level of global ubiquity, you aren't playing a character in a narrative anymore. You're the franchise. Is returning to a movie to play herself the ultimate power move to support this new business model?
It functions as highly controlled visibility. If she returns to play Rachel Zane or any fictional character, she immediately opens herself up to vulnerability.
Because of the critics.
Exactly. Critics will review her acting skills. Audiences will compare her current performance to her work from a decade ago. It invites a level of scrutiny that just doesn't serve her current goals.
But playing herself changes the rules.
Entirely. By playing herself, she bypasses the critique of her craft completely. She is leaning into the public's pre-existing fascination with her actual life.
That is so strategic.
It really is. It reminds the global audience of her star power, keeps her culturally relevant, but completely protects her status as a royal and a luxury brand founder. She is winking at the audience, essentially saying, you want to see the famous Duchess. I will play the famous Duchess, but on my own terms.
It completely reclaims the narrative from those Suits rumors. She isn't looking backward to capitalize on a nostalgic algorithm bump for a show she left years ago.
No, she's moving forward.
She is utilizing her current cultural footprint to drive attention toward her present ventures. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because we love breaking down these pop culture strategy moves.
We really do. And, this entire sequence of events perfectly illustrates a fundamental shift in the modern entertainment economy. A person's personal brand can, and often does, completely outgrow the original vehicle that made them famous.
That is so true.
For Meghan Markle, Suits was the essential launchpad. It introduced her to a global audience. But she is no longer in the business of playing characters. She has transitioned into the business of being Meghan Markle.
Let's synthesize this whole journey, because it is wild when you lay it all out.
It really is a roller coaster.
It starts with an algorithmic anomaly. 3.7 billion minutes of viewing time that has studio executives seeing dollar signs.
Panicking, really.
Right. That metric triggers a frantic defensive scramble, leading NBC to dig up an old script, retrofit it into Suits L.A., and watch it crash and burn in just 13 episodes because the audience wanted the original chemistry, not the brand name.
A harsh lesson for the networks.
Very harsh. And that failure sparks desperate, multi-million-dollar rumors of a big-screen reunion movie utilizing phantom leverage to gauge public interest.
The leverage leak.
Their leverage leak. And ultimately, the one star they needed to make that movie happen rejects the past entirely, choosing instead to launch a high-margin luxury brand and film a highly self-aware cameo playing herself.
The irony is that by refusing to participate in the nostalgic cash grab, she has actually maintained more control over her public image than if she had signed the multi-million-dollar contract.
Which is incredible.
It is the ultimate tightrope walk of modern fame.
Which leaves you with a final thought to ponder as you look at how celebrity culture functions today. If a massive, record-breaking audience falls in love with who you used to be, how do you convince them to follow who you have become?
That is the big question.
When a star pivots from an accessible television character to a global, high-end lifestyle brand, does leaning into their real-life persona actually make them more relatable? Or does shattering the fictional illusion that made audiences love them in the first place permanently change the relationship between the star and the viewer?
It's a question every viral sensation eventually has to answer.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.